Welcome back, folks. Sport Federation TV. We, of course, keep talking about sport in the Western Cape. And, of course, you will remember it was last year sometime that we spoke to Western Cape Gymnastics about their rope skipping events. And we spoke to Marti Heri, who's been very active with rope skipping. Now, rope skipping is, of course, one of the disciplines of gymnastics. And Gymnastics South Africa has got a massive event coming up next week. And to join me on the line now and tell me a little bit more about that is Marti Heri, the National Development Manager for Gymnastics South Africa. Marti, nice to have you on the line with me.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to have you as well. I actually remember that we met last year with an interesting meeting and you had a nice presentation on transformation. So welcome, everyone. Yes, we definitely are excited. Yesterday, we launched our Skip Nation program in Gauteng. That was the national launch, but we're basically expanding that right through the country in over 160 schools from the funding that we received from National Sports and Recreation. And Western Cape is going to be the handover next week, Wednesday, in Mitchell's Plain.
Marti, let's just start at the beginning a little bit. Rope skipping. We spoke to Marti Heri, who's been instrumental in the Western Cape, in the Cape Town area with rope skipping. But for the folks that have never heard of rope skipping, maybe give us a snapshot of what is rope skipping, how does it work? I mean, we know what skipping ropes are, but in the gymnastics codes, rope skipping is maybe a little bit more different.
Yes, definitely. I mean, rope skipping is actually, if you have not heard, 10 minutes rope skipping definitely equals about 14 minutes jogging. So firstly, the most important part of that is fitness and health. It's very good for the heart. But in the Gymnastics Federation, we actually introduced rope skipping as part of our discipline in 2003 with the help of Marti Heri from Belgium, who was then actually world champion from Belgium. He was a volunteer, just finished his studies at varsity in Belgium, Antwerp, and he signed up with SCORE as an organization with volunteers, and we grabbed him and we started developing rope skipping with his help. And one of his first athletes indeed was Marti Heri, and I've been mentoring Marti Heri for all these years.
So rope skipping then is, of course, I mean, apart from the fact that you say it's now in schools as well, which I'm going to ask you about in a second, rope skipping is one of the codes of gymnastics. Is it the type of code that ordinarily would be practiced at a club? You know, when we think of gymnastics, we think of people on the mats or with the rings on a bar. So many different codes in gymnastics. Would you go to a club and practice rope skipping?
Most definitely, but basically we're not the only country that actually hosting rope skipping within gymnastics. Austria, Sweden, Denmark, they're also using rope skipping as one of their disciplines. With us in South Africa, we have 9 disciplines. Rope skipping is one of them. Those apparatus that you mentioned are Olympic disciplines like artistic man, woman. Over and above that, we have the rhythmic and trampoline that are Olympic disciplines, but we then have acrobatics, we have aerobics, gymnastics, gym for all, which is the mother of all activities, not only in gymnastics, but in physical education. And most definitely, I would introduce rope skipping, not only in a gymnastics club. You would see them people jumping in a fitness club. They just do kind of boring activities, jump, jump, jump. You would see basketball players, you would see boxers, They do that often. But you must remember rope skipping is extremely good for the brain as well, because we do a lot of crossover the midline activities while we do tricks. There are 900 tricks with one single rope. So you have to see the capability of working with the brain. Children that are actually doing rope skipping not only get fit, but the cognitive development is going to be great. And it is part of the school curriculum as well.
But Marti, now coming up next week, you've got an announcement. You say you did your launch of Skip Nation in Johannesburg now this past week. You're now coming down to the Western Cape, where next week is the formal announcement of Skip Nation.
More than formal announcement, basically, because I have been in contact and for many, many years with Western Cape Education Department and also the Western Cape Departments of Culture, Art and Sport have been introduced to the rope skipping activities. Unfortunately, haven't yet been doing workshops for their mode centers, but with the Education Department for the last 3 years, I've been busy training lead teachers. So now we came to the point that Gymnastics South Africa investing some money from the recreation funding, national funding, that we couldn't spend due to COVID-19 restrictions. We normally would have spent it on capacity building on school sport. So I've contacted Ismail Teladia from the education department. He's heading the curriculum, the curriculum advisor group. And I said, please identify 16 schools having 8 districts in the Western Cape in education. We identified primary and high schools that they will not only receive training, but more importantly, receive equipment, so they will be able to implement the program. We, so many years, have been training teachers on fundamental movement or any other activities in gymnastics.
And so now the way forward. I mean, you mentioned that the skipping program is running out at some of the schools now. Is there also an opportunity for schools to compete against each other or become provincial athletes?
Well, it's a very good question. The intention of the Skip Nation project is basically the league that we're introducing. But in order to be able to do the league, you obviously have to start somewhere. So we first, in this year with the new schools, we are focusing on learning skills. So in each of the schools, they can just do speed jump, which is very simple. For the beginners, it's just jumping with single jump with a rope. And those that they can actually run already in the rope with alternate feet, then they can do the called speed skip. And how many of that you can do in 30 seconds. So straight away, we would like them to be inspired and encouraged to do that more frequently and regularly. And we can start with intra-school competition. Who is the best in the class? Who is the best in the grade? So you don't even have to go, because now with the COVID-19, you don't have many opportunities to travel from one school to the other. And the focus of this program is that we use a lot of that in the rural areas or the township schools, which don't have the funding to go to another school to play a league. So they can do it in intra-school, in-house.
Yeah. And
also, more importantly, to see that the children's progression, because if they do it frequently, every time they try that speed, they will be able to do one more and one more. So you can maybe start with 60 jumps in 30 seconds, and eventually, maybe end of the term, you can have 65, and then start learning the skills. That will be another whole wonderful opportunity. Rope skipping is actually part of the schools championship, the national school championships. Western Cape has been going regularly to school. In fact, in 2019, when we had the last nationals, Western Cape actually won the schools championships for gymnastics. Part of that was rope skipping, and part of that was some of the kids from our hub, which is in Khayelitsha, led by Masid Kolan. And very interesting that we actually, most of our athletes who represented South Africa already in rope skipping, and may I brag, we have junior world champions in rope skipping and senior world champions, because when we were hosting the world championships of rope skipping in 2008 in Cape Town, we also had some medals. And they all come from school sport, actually. So it's a very interesting thing how you can develop very quickly in this discipline of gymnastics to get to international level.
Marti, it sounds fantastic. Congratulations. I think you guys are doing a great job. We're looking forward to seeing rope skipping at the schools and seeing our athletes come through the ranks and become provincial athletes and national athletes and go overseas and win medals, all coming from where we're starting at the base here. So, Marti, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with you guys soon. Lots of pictures from the launch event, and we can find out how things are going and see how the athletes are doing.
Well, you're very welcome to join us for the handover in Mitchell's Plain at Spine Road High School. And you will learn more about our program in rope skipping in a box and Skip Nation. Or you can also visit our website, the national website, gymnasticssa.co.za, and you can be in contact with us and we will help you. Thank you very much for the opportunity, JP. Have a lovely weekend.
Fantastic. Bye. Thanks, Marti. There we go, folks. Marti Heri, of course, the National Development Manager for Gymnastics South Africa. And as you heard Marti say, they're going to be down here in Cape Town next week, where they're launching rope skipping at the schools. Skip Nation, boxes with kit in. Well, that's my understanding of it, but all very exciting. We're going to keep following the progress, and we'll keep bringing you the information of what's happening with gymnastics in the Western Cape. Folks, we're going to take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking about sport in the province. Back in a sec.